Colonel Fairburn Takes Over is kind of a weird Doris Day Show episode. This is the 26th episode of the second season. This is the final episode of season 2. And I'm really keen to see what the next season has in store because, as far as I know, there are some changes coming. Some that I'm not looking forward to, but then I wasn't really looking forward to her starting work at Today's World, and I have to say that's really paid off. This episode does, of course, focus on Today's World, and Colonel Fairburn, played by Edward Andrews, has come to Today's World to have a more hands-on role around the office, and it starts off well enough. He takes a liking to Doris, and he starts to give her gifts, flowers and chocolate, and then more extravagant gifts, and it gets a little bit obsessive almost, and Doris is grateful for the gifts, but she's not exactly falling for him. And not much else happens, to be honest. It's unpredictable what he's going to say to her at certain points, and I always felt like he was going to say something awkward or uncomfortable, but it never really amounted to anything, and I feel like it just felt a bit pointless. He said something really nice to her at the end about her position in the company. I won't explain it in too much detail. That I thought was nice, but the rest of it just felt like a little bit pointless, and I don't really know what they were trying to do with this episode, or indeed with the character, and it just never went anywhere. I feel like the episode's unfinished. I feel like it should have been a two-parter. I don't want it to have been a two-parter, but that's what it feels like. I'm left with more questions than I have answers, and scene for scene it wasn't bad, but as a narrative as a whole it wasn't very good, and that's a shame to end season 2 that way. There were some good moments in it. I rather liked watching Doris play darts, and the scene with the dancing was quite interesting because we very rarely go to places outside of Today's World or obviously Doris's home, so to see them dancing with a lot of 70s fashion and things is something that I personally found to be quite interesting. So that bit I quite liked. But in general, as a whole, it just felt pointless. I didn't dislike watching it as such, although I did think Fairburn's behaviours were not necessarily the best at times, and they were a little bit awkward and uncomfortable to watch. But it wasn't a very interesting story, and it feels unfinished. So I don't know what to expect going forward. Thankfully, the Doris Day Show episodes that I don't like are very, very few and far between. And this is unfortunately, well, it's not even so much that I didn't like it. It's simply that I don't see the point in it. I do not see the point in this episode. Nevertheless, it's watchable, and we will see what happens going forward. I'm not sure exactly what to expect. I'm nervous, kind of looking forward to it. Well, I'm definitely looking forward to it because it's Doris Day at the end of the day. But I don't know how I feel. Time will tell. I'll find out next week. But for now, Colonel Fairburn Takes Over. It's not a good episode, but it's not terrible